stand for fantasy football franchise. Talking about that guy, Hoogie Tyler every week. Heavy analytics, competition real steep. Whoa, that's sweet. Oh, in this belief. Nick so sick, man, bringing ships the whole fleet. Goats, not sheep. Follow every tweet. Don't sleep, always finding sleepers on the street, boy. F3, winning every single league. Money back guaranteed, but it's free. Welcome to the franchise. Welcome to the franchise. Let's go.
Welcome back to the F3 Pod, guys. My name is Sean. I'm here with my co-host Joey. How you doing today, Joey?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We are not joined by Andrew. He has yet another conflict. I don't know. Is it a tragedy?
Let's see. I think this one is soccer finals and a home league draft. I think all at the same time.
So like football finals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, he's a busy guy right now. So we're gonna be without him for a week. But the good news is he doesn't really bring anything to the table, so we don't really need him.
But I won't be here next week. I'm gonna be in Florida next week. Sorry, bud.
So I'm stuck with Andrew next week?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. All right. We'll make do with that, or we'll find somebody else. So we got a ton of news today because basically all the roster cuts happened. All the depth charts are starting to come out. So we're just going to kind of talk about a lot of that stuff for a little while, and maybe we'll get to some other stuff around the end. But we got a lot of news to sort through here. So where do you want to start today, Joey?
I want to start with Matt Breida being the starter. Called it back. I called it back May 24th. I wrote an article on it. I did.
I think I edited that article too.
I think you might have.
And I didn't listen at all. I just didn't listen. I don't know. I still think they're probably both going to get a lot of work, but
Agreed.
I have no Breida shares, and I have a lot of Coleman shares.
I have a couple of Breida, but mostly Coleman, because I really thought after, like I thought beginning of the season, Breida had a great chance, and then he got injured right in OTAs, and I was like, But I'm telling you, when I went through and when I wrote that article, I actually just put everybody side by side, and I was like, I mean, really, if you look at the numbers, it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, he is the most productive of them. Coleman has familiarity with the system.
And he's healthy.
And also, he was very productive in that system in Atlanta. Like, people kind of soured on him after last year because he just wasn't good last year.
Right.
But it was not the same offense that it was when Shanahan was running it. So,
right.
I don't know. I think they're both still good candidates for, like, the borderline zero RB strategy. You know, like, if you miss out on the early guys or if you're looking for depth there, I mean, they're really just one injury away from Coleman just owning that backfield. Because who else do the Niners have behind Breida and Coleman with McKinnon done for the season?
Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, not a fan.
No, and then I think they have Jeffrey Wilson on the practice squad.
Yeah. What about Joe Williams?
Joe Williams. It's like the first pick that Shanahan ever traded up for.
Oh, man, people were so hyped on him. Traded up for him. All they had were good things to say, and then just gone. So, let's stick with the same. Let's go Pettis and Goodwin.
Yeah.
Starters over there. So the Pettis thing, that was all smokescreen. Like,
yeah, I think like they even said, Shanahan said the guys he believes in the most, that's what he does. He just challenges and challenges and challenges. He's just trying to get the most out of him.
It was nice seeing everybody sour on him for a little bit.
Right, because I got a lot of shares of him now.
Yeah, it was a nice little buy low window if the owner was at all shaky on it. But
yeah,
I already had him most places, so it didn't really concern me at all. Goodwin starting. Yeah, I guess, but like much rather see Debo in the lineup.
I would too. I honestly think eventually he'll work his way in, but Goodwin does have a great rapport with Jimmy G, and maybe to get Jimmy back into a rhythm, you want to put the receiver he's most comfortable with, just so he can himself get into a rhythm.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. So Debo's listed as an outside receiver right now. I think he could play the slot too, though.
Oh,
So
I definitely think so.
like we're definitely looking at a situation where if Trent Taylor starts to flounder at all, um, which I do think Trent Taylor's a good slot receiver. Like I think
Yeah,
he's going to be good. But if that's not the case, I think Debo could step in there too. I just want to see him on the field,
I
man.
do too.
He's probably my most owned rookie this year.
He's electric. I didn't know he was that fast.
It's just like everything that he does is what I look for in a wide receiver. He catches the ball well, he runs good routes,
Mm-hmm.
he's good in space, and he's good after the catch. I don't know. He's my type of receiver, and I just want to see him on the field. So
Yep.
him and Arcega Whiteside, and then I have a lot of Raekwon Armstead and Alexander Madison shares because we did a bunch of drafts before the NFL draft happened.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of shares of those guys before they were like drafted decently into decent spots.
Do you think the Jags signing Ozigbo has any
See, and
significance against Armstead?
Ozigbo is one that I own everywhere too. So because he was like my UDFA sleeper, because I just
Right.
wasn't a believer in Latavius Murray. We either talked about this last week here, or we just talked about it on IDP, guys. But yeah, I have a lot of Ozigbo, and I have them pretty much all the same places I have Armstead. So um, if something happens to Fournette, like I'm going to have the backup there, and it's going to be productive.
It's good.
So I mean, honestly, best case scenario, they both get work behind Fournette. But yeah, I think Ozigbo's really talented. I think he was a really underrated player in the draft coming in this year. So, what do you want to talk next? What do we got?
Let's see. We could talk about Zeke closing in on a deal, possibly. A 6-year extension worth possible $90 million, which would keep him through 2026.
So, are they just not going to sign Dak?
I don't know. And what are they doing with Cooper? Because they just signed Jalen Smith. They just signed La'el Collins. They can't have that much if they're going to give Zeke 90.
Dude, I just like it's going to depend how they format the money, like how they move it around. But I don't see a situation in which they can get Cooper and Dak.
Nope.
And there's no goddamn way they're going to sit there and be like, yeah, we're going to trade a first-round pick for a 1-year rental of Amari Cooper, I guess a 2-year rental of Amari Cooper, to not win the Super Bowl and then let him go.
Right. Do you think Dak not taking that $30 million deal was kind of like, well, if he's not taking that, we'll just move on?
Maybe. I just like I'm not a big Dak Prescott fan. I don't think he's very good. And
He's
I think
efficient.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can be efficient in that offense. When you have just an elite rushing attack, a good offensive line, like I think you can just be efficient.
Just imagine, and I hate to say it, just imagine Tom Brady in that system.
Oh yeah,
Because
like,
that's what he did in New England.
Yep, just all day to throw and a good running game. So, I wouldn't. I guess I'd be surprised if they let Dak go, but I don't think it's necessarily the wrong option because I don't think Dak is going to bring them to a Super Bowl. But I think that if they got somebody else, they could bring somebody in that could elevate the team. Whereas Dak just kind of keeps them there.
Well, I mean, and you look at the extensions they had, they just signed a bunch of good young players to extensions. So even if you have to wait one more year to get another quarterback, you still have a core that's moving forward with that quarterback.
Yeah. So I guess let's for a second assume that Zeke doesn't play this year. We got a couple of hypotheticals here. So Zeke doesn't play this year. What does that do to the rest of Dallas's offense?
I think Tony Pollard just steps into the role. I really don't. I just think Alfred Morris is there just to be there.
Right. So what does that do to the offense as a whole, though?
Oh,
because if they're not moving the chains consistently, like that's going to hurt Amari Cooper, and that's really like the only other like fantasy asset on the Cowboys offense. I mean, Gallup, I guess, but like if they're not moving the chains, Gallup is completely irrelevant.
I think if Zeke doesn't play, then it all falls on Dak's shoulders. And Dak needs to make that. He needs to make that receiving game, that passing game, a lot more productive.
So you think it would actually help if Zeke didn't, because you think they'd feed the run game less?
I do.
See, and I think they probably still stick with the game plan, and they just don't spend as much time on offense.
Uh,
I don't know. So I guess that's interesting. It could go either way. So then the other thing would be, let's say they sign Dak and they don't have enough money for Amari Cooper. Are you buying or selling Amari Cooper not knowing where he would land?
I'll buy him. I think he's talented enough to wherever he really goes, I think he'll be okay. He even had a year or two good with Derek Carr, and it was just something that happened in that final year. That inconsistency. I don't know if it was uncomfortable in the situation or what.
I mean, he's always had problems with drops. Like, drops
Right.
have always been his issue, and like they just kind of started avoiding throwing to him because the drops had become such a problem. But
Yeah.
it's just tough to do that because he's such a good route runner that he just
Right.
consistently is open. So I think if they sign Dak and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to sign Cooper, like he's a hard buy for me because the two quarterbacks he's played with are Derek Carr and Dak Prescott. Like he's got to go to a better situation than that in theory, right?
Right.
Like imagine if he just ended up on a team with imagine if he went to the Eagles, just went to a division rival and just had Carson Wentz thrown to him instead of Dak Prescott.
I'd like to see him go to Pittsburgh and become that 1-2 punch with Juju.
Yeah, get James Washington out of there.
Yeah. Dante Moncrief.
I really like Deontay Johnson over there, but it's going to take time to get him some meaningful snaps. So he's kind of just a stash at this point. But I'm not a James Washington fan at all. I think he is somebody where if you have him, hold him for this year because he'll probably put up numbers this year. But I don't think he's the long-term answer, and I don't think Pittsburgh thinks he's the long-term answer. So I think
if they thought he was, Moncrief wouldn't be starting over him.
Yeah, Moncrief, and also they wouldn't have spent, I think it was a third on Deontay Johnson too.
Right.
Although Johnson's probably going to play the slot as opposed to outside receiver, but they're definitely bringing in wide receiver help because I don't think that they believe in James Washington. So I think you can probably get a good year out of him and sell him, and then just wash your hands of that. Just be done. Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, he's not going to play this year.
He's not going to play. There's no way. No. I don't see it because they told him he was open to talk trade. And which basically means that they have no intention of signing him.
Right, and they're fine without him. They showed last year they're fine without him.
Yeah, I really like Justin Jackson. I know
Yep.
Austin Eckler is the one that's getting hyped up, but like at their prices, I think Justin Jackson is a great buy.
Oh yeah, he's going super late.
Yeah, in comparison to Eckler, who you're not really getting any sort of discount on him.
Right.
But
and
yeah,
I think they're going to have a lot of the same situation as Breda and Coleman, almost like 1A, 1B.
Yep, and I know Eckler is like the receiving back out of that group, but Justin Jackson can catch the football. Like he's not a slouch in that area. So, so he's not going to sign. He's talking trades, but it doesn't sound like anything has really heated up at all. And you're looking at a running back that really like these last couple of years, like he's really catapulted his stock in Dynasty, but he hasn't had all that productive of a career. Like he
hasn't played a full 16 games in one season. I don't think he's done it.
Yeah, he might not have, but
and he's 28.
So he's 28. He's got an injury history. He's had years where he just wasn't productive.
And he's been fed.
Didn't he have a year where he had 0 touchdowns?
Probably.
I think that's something that happened like really early. But so what you're looking at then is like a really tough market because A, you have to find somebody who's willing to trade the Chargers something valuable to acquire you. B, they have to be willing to pay you. And you've already shown that you're not really in the market for like small time money. Like you're trying to get that big contract and it doesn't seem like you're going to get it.
Right.
So somebody will sign him, but I'm guessing it'll be closer to like the Jerick McKinnon deal than the Todd Gurley deal.
Oh yeah. I don't think he's getting anywhere close to Gurley money.
No. That's what he wants though.
Yeah, and that's what every back wants.
Yeah, I know, but not every back is Todd Gurley. So, Yeah, it's a tough market for running backs right now because like you got the 2020 class coming in too, and that's why like a lot of these guys like
That's why nobody wants to trade. They're like, well, why should I get a 28-year-old back with an injury history when I can just take my first rounder next year and get myself a very productive back?
Yeah, and so I think like this is the year where you got to sell uh, all your Tevin Colemans, all your Jerick McKinnons, like anybody that's not like a dominant starter, you have to sell them because any one of those could just be not even remotely relevant anymore come next year's draft. And the problem is we don't really know who's going to be in the market for a running back because
Could be everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of seems like everybody is always in the market for a running back. Like, you look at the teams that were essentially like running back set before the draft, like teams that we thought were going to be running back set. And it's like, yeah, no, like the Vikings have Dalvin Cook. They go out and they get Alexander Madison, and the Rams go out and get Darrell Henderson. And like these teams that have solid backfields are still adding backs like early in the draft. So if your guy is not somebody who's going to weather that storm, regardless of whether you think they're in a situation where they'll draft a running back or not, like you just have to sell them.
What I would love to see for Gordon is he'll probably end up sitting out at least to week 10 until he has to sign to become a free agent next year. I'd like to see him either get traded this year or sign next year with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, just kill Ronald Jones.
And Peyton Barber.
Yeah, just put an end to all of that. Yeah,
but you are right. 2015, 0 touchdowns. It was his rookie year. 0 touchdowns. 184 carries, 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's scary.
And I'm not saying Melvin Gordon's not a good back, but it's just like those are the things that come up in contract talks where like if you don't have like a solid resume of production throughout a good bulk of your career, you're not getting that top end money.
Right.
So, let's take a short break and we will be back to talk some more of the fantasy implications from all the news cuts and stuff that have happened. All right, we are back, and I guess the next thing to talk about would be the Colts QB situation. So we got Brissett just signed his contract, 2 years, $30 million. It's an extension, I guess, but it's not a super long one. And then they signed Brian Hoyer off of New England for 3 years, $12 million, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with the Brissett contract is we don't have all the details yet. My guess would be, just with how much money they have available to them right now, that they front load it pretty heavy and the team can get out next year. So it's not so much a extension as it is just like making sure that if he plays well and he is their guy, that they have him available next year to get a contract done next year. That would be my guess with that. If he doesn't play well, do you think they at some point make the switch to Hoyer?
I definitely think they could. I mean, Hoyer's showing he can be a productive starter, and you put him in a system like Frank Reich's system, and I think Hoyer's actually a very good quarterback for that system.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who follows IDP guys knows that I just have a massive heart on for Brian Hoyer.
It's awkward. It truly does happen too.
It does. I am such a huge Hoyer fan just because he's so much fun to watch, man. Like,
don't ask him to walk away from the camera.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're gonna get with him. Like he's out there and he's playing hero ball all game long. It's a lot of fun to watch, and like it doesn't always translate to wins, but like it does sometimes. Like he's carried some teams.
They have a receiving core that's good enough to where he can play hero ball. Just chuck it.
I really think that if Hoyer starts, like that helps T.Y. Hilton's value. Not from where it would be with Andrew Luck, but from where it is right now. And we don't know what we're getting out of Brissett. Like all the tape that we have on him is from 2017, and it's not really relevant anymore because he's probably changed so much as a player and learned and grown. But it's possible Brissett just sucks. Like, we don't know really. And so if he ends up sucking, like, I think that Hoyer comes in and is productive, and then they'll draft a quarterback next year,
Yeah.
and they cut ties.
I do think Brissett can be successful, though. I mean, he's got a year under the New England regimen. He went to Indianapolis, played next to Andrew Luck. You know, Andrew Luck was there helping him while he wasn't playing,
Yeah.
passing on his knowledge. He now has a great offensive line. He's got a really good coach who turned Nick Foles into a $40 million a year or $40 million contract.
Yeah.
And then you have T.Y., Paris Campbell, Devin Funchess, Ebron, Jack Doyle. I mean, it's just a much better team for him, huh? Ebron.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're
And
good.
then it's just a much better situation for him. I think he can be productive. He was a third-round pick by the Belichick staff.
So the thing is like, productive for fantasy doesn't necessarily mean that job security.
I think he can be NFL good too, though.
Okay, and I guess I am not as confident in that. But I also just want to see Hoyer play, so my vision's just clouded on this one. But
I'm almost going the other way just because of that.
that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But it's going to be interesting how it shakes out. I don't think that their starting quarterback of the future is on the roster right now.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't either. I think he can make waves, but you're right.
Part of the problem, though, is that I think with the talent they have on their team, they're going to be good enough that they're not going to get a top pick and get that top quarterback, and they might just be stuck in limbo unless they decide to mortgage the future and sell a bunch of draft picks.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're either going to have to sell some draft picks or some current players.
Yeah, I mean, current players, like, value on them in the trade market around draft time is just wild. Like,
Right.
it's very, very random, where, like, you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, okay, Snacks Harrison, like, awesome defensive tackle, 5th round pick.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Backup kicker, 5th round to the Vikings, 5th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
How are those the same value? Don't know
at all.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's the way of the NFL trade market. It's just totally wild, and you never know what you're going to get for him. So,
Yeah.
DK Metcalf, starter over in Seattle.
I like it.
I do too.
I like it a lot.
I'm excited for that. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows that I've been a huge DK Metcalf guy through this entire draft process. I think that a lot of what people took issue with were the agility times, obviously, which were horrendous. Don't get me wrong. He ran a horrendous 3-cone and shuttle. But
Yeah, he slipped, though, didn't he?
It's not good. It's just not good. But that's not his game either.
Right.
And so, like, people are saying that he can't run routes and stuff, but what they're not realizing is there's more to running routes than just, like, lateral agility and stuff. You know, like, there are plenty of quick wide receivers that don't run good routes because it's about attention to detail. It's about selling your fakes, you know.
Right.
It's about manipulating the defender. And those are aspects that I think he actually excels in, especially in the deep ball, which is primarily where he was used in college. We didn't really get to see him do a whole lot else because of just the way that offense was set up. But strictly, if we're talking about him strictly as a deep threat, he runs good routes. He's decent at beating the press. He's big. He's strong. He's good at the catch point. He goes up, gets the ball. He catches the ball away from his frame. Like, he does all of the things that you want to see a player do to be a deep threat. And if he can do anything else, then great. Like, there are players that have made their living on being a deep threat. There are players that you can't play because that's all they do. But if you can do that consistently with the upside of being able to do other stuff, like his size and ability at the catch point alone make him a red zone threat.
Right.
And so, like, a red zone threat plus a deep threat, like, those are two roles that can be productive for fantasy football. And if you pair them together, I think that that's a recipe for success, regardless of what else they ask him to do.
Plus, where he landed, Russell Wilson has one of the best deep balls in the NFL.
Yep. And on top of that, like, Tyler Lockett's their only target right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen what volume with Russell Wilson can do over there. So
Right.
they obviously are a run first team. I'm thinking that this year we probably see an uptick in passing a little bit. But I think they can support 2 receivers. They haven't in the past, but I think they
Well, I
can.
mean, Baldwin and Lockett both had decent years. I mean,
Lockett,
Lockett was that boomer bust guy.
yeah, Lockett wasn't really like a very productive receiver until Baldwin was gone. So I guess that would be my concern.
Yeah,
But with that said, like I think that DK's targets are going to be more valuable targets, assuming they're seeing the field at the same time all the time. Because
right.
I think that Lockett will be more efficient, but with DK Metcalf, you're going to have a lot more potential for touchdowns in the red zone, and you're going to have a lot more potential for big plays. So he may be more boomer bust, but there's also the potential because we don't know what he can do, and the question marks that surround DK Metcalf's game are ones that really offer more upside than downside because we already know he has a floor for red zone and deep balls. We just don't know what his ceiling is.
Right.
So yeah, I unfortunately didn't draft high enough anywhere to acquire him, which was a big bummer. And I think the window is kind of closed on buying him unless he has an atrocious rookie year. Then I'll probably try and go out and buy him again.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, you want to talk Shady?
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
can
What do you think?
it's annoying,
It is. It's super
really
annoying.
annoying.
Yeah.
Here it was like I was always okay with Darwin Thompson there. I figured he was going to take some touches, but I don't think he was really going to threaten Damian Williams' load. I still don't think McCoy does much. I mean, Andy Reid himself did say he has 2 starters now. I don't
Yeah.
know what to take from that, but everybody says LaShawn McCoy played in Andy Reid's system. Well, so did Damian Williams last year.
Yeah.
And Damian Williams did really good. McCoy is 31. I mean, he is only a year or two removed of having a very productive season, but they're very similar running backs in style.
Yeah.
So do you really is it like going to be a hot hand or you don't really? I don't know. I'm
I have no idea.
confused.
They've never used a committee before.
Right.
So I don't know what an Andy Reid committee looks like. At this point, if you own one of them, you have to trade for the other one, or you have to trade one of them to the other owner.
Right.
Ideally, you own Damian Williams because McCoy is going to be cheaper.
Right.
This could just be a backfield, though, that just gets wiped out by the 2020 class.
Yeah.
They don't usually spend big draft capital on running backs as far as I mean, like, I can't think of the last time Kareem Hunt, but that was a round 3 pick.
Right.
So it's possible that they keep rolling with this, but this just seems like a perfect candidate for like there to be all these running backs and everyone's struggling to acquire them, and then next year it's just like wiped out and none of them matter anymore.
Yeah, because if you think about where that team really, what do they need? They could add a little bit to their defense, but then is running back. So come draft time, you can focus on running back early and then just fix the rest of your team.
Yeah, I think like if I have Damian Williams and I am not making a championship run, or as soon as it becomes clear that I'm not making a championship run, or as soon as the season's over after your championship run, like I'm selling all of the Chiefs running backs because I don't want to wait till the draft happens and then just lose all value that I had before.
Right.
If I had to pick one, I'm taking Damian Williams. Just because of age. So, I mean, I just think there's more upside long-term there where McCoy, even if he's the starter this year over Damian Williams, like, I don't think he's got many years left in him. Like, he hasn't been productive the last couple of years. So,
no, and he was a high volume back.
Yeah. So you're just not getting much upside with McCoy there. Where outside of maybe this year, if he suddenly becomes the only back in that backfield, Damian Williams, I think at least like there's a chance that, McCoy comes in, retires this year, gets cut next year, and it's back to Damian Williams like full time. And, maybe now is the time to buy the Darwin Thompson shares probably.
Yeah.
I think the hype's died on Darwin Thompson enough that he's like within the realm of buying reasonably.
Right. I agree.
So yeah, what are you doing with these 3?
Damian Williams, definitely. I have him in, I think, 3 different leagues. And only one of them I was able to get LaShawn McCoy in.
Most of them I have both.
And
Like,
I don't have Darwin Thompson in any of them.
okay, and I have tons of Darwin Thompson. I basically half my leagues I have him. The ones that we drafted early, I have them. The ones that we drafted late, I don't.
Yeah, because you were on him before the draft even.
Yeah, he was one of my late round sleepers with Madison and Armstead and stuff.
I think Williams starts off the lead back, and if he can just be productive, if he can go right in and where he left off last year, I honestly don't think McCoy sees the field.
Yeah,
I think he's just there for insurance.
What if they do decide to do committee just to like keep Williams healthy and keep McCoy fresh with his old legs? Or like, do you think they can have his really old legs? Do you
With
think
his old legs?
Do you think they can support 2 running backs?
I think they can. I mean, mainly because they can both catch too. So
Yeah.
if you really want to get creative, do a split backfield.
So, I mean, if you have both of them, is there ever a situation where you think you could start one as your RB2 and one as your flex?
I got to see what the offense does.
I don't know.
But I mean, in all honesty, considering the way they play, I could see it because there's not really much as already. So you have Kelsey and you have Tyreek Hill.
Yep, Sammy.
And then Sammy's hit or miss, really. He's a big game or nothing. And then outside of that, there's not much. So why not run a split backfield every now and then, run one of them in motion, put them out in the slot or put them out wide.
See, I don't think we'll see too many 2 running back looks. That's something that like every team always talks about, but they just don't really do. The Lions were talking about it for years, and it was like, yep, that happened 3 times last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like with that team, with the people, with the personnel they have, they could run a killer screen game.
Yeah, they could. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Let's say going into week 1 though, you have both of them, and you're a little iffy on your flex. Would you consider starting both of them?
No, I'm starting Damian Williams.
Okay, and you're just leaving McCoy on the bench.
Yeah, at least for week 1.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk some Washington news. You got Josh Doctson out the door.
See you later.
Former first round pick. Now nothing. He's over on the Vikings though. He actually landed in a decent spot.
Yeah.
And then you got Terry McLaurin, top of the depth chart over there. So, what do you not like about this?
I mean, I like Terry McLaurin. I just don't like his quarterback situation.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Gruden has been able to get the most out of most QBs he has. It's Case Keenum, and Haskins hasn't really impressed me too much this preseason.
Yeah, remember the Jamison Crowder role like 2 years ago though?
Yeah.
It was productive.
Yeah.
I think McLaurin could do that.
But that was with Kirk Cousins.
That's true. But part of that though, like Crowder was running a lot of stuff underneath, a lot of the shorter, quicker routes, and McLaurin's a really good route runner. Like he's very technical in his routes.
Right.
He's good at his stem. I think he could play that role, and I think that those are easier routes to throw.
Unfortunately, I think they're going to give that role to Trey Quinn.
Yeah, and this is something that always frustrates me with NFL coaches and GMs is like, oh, McLaurin ran a super fast 40. Let's just send him deep every time. It's like, oh man, but he can do so much more than that.
Right.
So yeah, if they have him in that deep role, like a la what the Bills decided to do with Zay Jones the last couple of years, it's just a waste of talent.
Yeah.
So, because like fantasy wise, that's just not usually a super productive role. It is, but it's hit or miss. And it's like, yeah, Zay Jones had some nice games, but like you can't start that unless you can do other things.
Right.
And McLaurin, like DK, like he's shown that he can be productive in the red zone, but that was in college, and he's not a bigger guy that wins in the ways that you would expect a red zone threat to win in the NFL. And I think he can be productive in the red zone. I just don't think that that's going to be his game, like a lot of people
It's going to be
just based on his touchdowns.
Yeah, it's going to be more like Antonio Brown's type of red zone role.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you can create separation, you're always going to be valuable in the red zone. But that doesn't make you necessarily like a priority in the red zone. Josh Doctson, you have any interest there?
I mean, I like the landing spot for him. He's back with Kirk Cousins. I mean, they were kind of on the same page in Washington. It's alleviated some stress. He doesn't have to be the number one guy. I mean, Treadwell, he still got some targets when he was there. He just
barely
didn't do anything.
Barely.
Who wants to throw to a guy who can't do shit?
Yeah, no, Treadwell's terrible.
So, I mean,
so bad.
I think Doxson's better than Treadwell.
He definitely is.
And what I think it actually does is move Thielen into the slot a little more.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I mean, Diggs can play the slot too. They really
they can interchange.
Guys. Yeah,
they run such good routes. I love those two.
The question then for me is cost benefit, because like he's free right now. He's on the waiver, like he's on most waiver wires. He'll be probably seeing the field, but. And also, like, if Diggs gets hurt a lot. So if Diggs gets hurt, he immediately is a number 2 receiver there.
Right.
In a productive offense.
With a QB he knows.
Right. He's already 26, though. So, like, at what point are we just like, yeah, this is what you have with him? Like, this is it. Well, he's never going to be more than this.
I don't know. It was the end of one of his seasons. He finished, it was like 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games or something like that. I don't know. I'm going to try to find it real quick. But Doctson, he had a productive season under his belt, and then it was injuries, and he could never get a complete season under his belt. Yeah. So he had 6 touchdowns in 17, and only 35 receptions. So like 6 of his 35 receptions were touchdowns. So he can be a productive red zone guy.
Right. I guess. Do we think that he hasn't put together a full productive year? No. He just got cut by his team. If Washington really believed in him at all, they wouldn't have cut him.
Right.
So do we think that there's any chance that he blossoms into something productive, or is he just always going to be kind of a middling guy that just hangs around?
I don't know. Oh gosh, I think he's just going to be a middling guy. I'm looking at some of his stats. He had 78 targets both in 17 and 18. 17, his catch rate was only 44.9%, and it only went up to 56.4 in 18.
Yeah, that's brutal.
That's just bad. And his touchdown rate went down too. He had 6 in 17, dropped to 2 in 18. So
yeah, he just was never part of the offense really. But
right.
I mean, I might grab him in just like a couple of places just in case, because, you know, if Diggs or Thielen does go down, I think he can be productive.
Right.
But where I'm kind of like torn on this is that I don't think even if Diggs and Thielen go down, I don't think you're ever going to want to start Doctson probably.
No, he's kind of one of those, if they go down, he's like a bye week filler or something of that sort.
You're never going to be happy starting him. And if he's not going to develop into anything else, you know, like if he doesn't turn into something that's ever startable, then like, what's the point?
Right.
You're just handcuffing receivers then, and that's just bad business. So,
right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm torn on that, but I'm just really not interested. And it's kind of a bummer because I did like Doxson's tape in college.
Yeah. I mean, I was big on him too, but same thing with Treadwell.
Oh, I hated Treadwell.
Really?
Oh, I hated him. Yeah, his only redeeming quality was that he could block. He's a blocking wide receiver. It's one of those guys in Madden where like they create a whole new archetype of player where it's just like blocking wide receiver. And that's just what he is. Him. Yep, that's him. So we got a couple more to talk about. Back to the McCoy thing. Devin Singletary now.
Yeah.
So they said he's going to be the lead back. What does that mean?
I think about 14 touches, honestly. I think TJ Yeldon's going to mix in third down role, maybe change of pace. I don't think Gore really sees the field unless it's a Singletary injury.
We say that every year, and Gore always.
I know, and I love Gore. I do.
I do
He
too. I hate
kills
him.
me in fantasy football, though.
Yeah, he's like
Uh,
he just shows up to the party and is just a bummer.
I had my breakout player of the year last year, Kenyon Drake. He's only got Gore to beat.
He's like the guy that's like great to work with, you know. It's like, yeah, you're really good at your job, and then like he shows up to the party, and it's like, man, I wish you would not have shown up to the party. That's Frank Gore. That's who Frank Gore is. So yeah, I don't know. Singletary can catch the ball out of the backfield though.
Yeah.
I honestly was not a huge fan of his tape in college. I thought like it was decent. A lot of people really liked him though. I do love his situation right now though. And I think the Bills are probably going to be playing from behind, so he'll probably get some work in the passing game. So I think that's going to be really productive. If you bought him, good on you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to acquire him for a reasonable price now. You may be able to later in the year if he's not killing it like everyone expects, but this is the time of year when just everyone kind of assumes that all of their stash running backs that are paying off are going to be RB1s.
Oh yeah.
So
you're not going to be amazing. No, I think Singletary is a flex play.
He could be an RB2, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough to say right now, but yeah, if you bought him, that was a good stash. That's why you grab those rookie running backs everywhere you can. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk last couple pieces of news. All right, we're back to just finish up with the last couple pieces of news here. We're going to be going a little long just because this is a ton of news right before the season starts, and it's stuff that's worth looking at. So Cardinals wide receivers, let's start there. Depth chart got released, and it is surprising, I guess.
I would say so.
We got Fitz and Kirk on the outside.
Okay, we get that.
That makes sense. And I guess Fitz will probably play more in the slot, to be honest. But third wide receiver listed is Trent Sherfield.
Who saw that coming?
I'm not buying it.
I'm not either.
It's going to be Keyshawn Johnson, if I had to guess. I think that he's definitely been the most productive in preseason. He's done everything he was supposed to do. He's done pretty much everything he could to stick here a starting spot. Andy Isabella will be playing in the reserves, basically.
He'll be the fourth receiver.
Yep. And he'll probably see the field a decent amount. I think we'll probably see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. I also don't think that Trent Sherfield is going to stick around on the field very much. I just don't see that happening.
I don't know what that is. Is that one of those things you've been around for a while, so we're just going to list you as our starter, give you that little shot week 1, and then go ahead and sit down?
Yeah, I don't really know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I think that Andy Isabella for me is going to be a buy pretty soon here because a lot of people have soured on him. He kind of struggled in camp a little bit. He's taken a little time to get acclimated to the NFL, but I think he's really talented and I think he has all the tools to be good. So he's somebody that the owner of Andy Isabella is probably going to sour on him pretty quickly if he doesn't see the field.
And you can probably get him pretty cheap.
Yep, or at least cheaper than what you would pay right now or what you were paying when you drafted him. So I think like that'll be a good buy window for him, and I think I'm interested in that at least. Especially just because I think the offense is going to be up and coming, where it's going to start off pretty shitty, if I had to guess.
Right.
I mean, maybe not week 1 because the Lions are trash, but yeah, we watched
your team, bro.
I know. We watched what Darnold did to him week 1 last year, though. That was not fun. So I think there'll be a buy window on Andy Isabella. I think Keyshawn Johnson, if anybody is buying the fact that he's not the starter, is a definite buy right now as well. And if for some reason you have Trent Sherfield on any of your rosters, take whatever you can get for him, because
Yeah,
nobody's rostered him. He's got to be 0% owned.
it's just weird. I had not heard one thing about him preseason,
Nope, not at all.
and then all of a sudden depth chart comes out, and you're like,
huh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Are you high on any of these guys this year?
I love Keyshawn Johnson. I love watching him play. Like, he's all the way from OTAs till now. The coaches have nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah,
He's just been killing it.
I think Kirk is way cheaper than what he should be now too.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how the Kyler Murray thing works out, regardless of how efficient the offense is, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and they're going to be running a lot of plays. And Fitz is, in my opinion, beyond the point of being a target hog at this point. You know, like he was 2 years ago. I just don't think that's who he is anymore.
Right.
He's had a great career, but he's not he's not a game changer anymore. And I think those targets are going to have to go somewhere, and they're not going to Trent Sherfield.
No, I think any of those top three, well, not top three, outside of Fitz, Isabella, Johnson, and Kirk, they're all buys right now.
Yeah.
Because Fitz is probably done.
Kirk's ADP is so much lower than what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really think he should be going earlier than what he is. He had a productive rookie year.
Yep.
He had a productive rookie year with Josh Rosen. And he had a productive rookie year with Josh Rosen behind a terrible offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Just a dysfunctional offense. So I think everything's looking up for him, and people just haven't gotten on that train yet. And
right.
I am on that train.
Yep, I'm with you.
Carlos Hyde signing with the Texans.
All it does is kick the gut of Duke Johnson.
Do you think he's going to get any sort of workload?
I do. I think he'll get some. I still think Duke is by far the back to own, and he's also going to be the guy on third down. I think the only thing Hyde is really used for is to spell Duke Johnson. He'll be used for all third downs, and I think he'll be a goal line.
You think Hyde will be the goal line back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's unfortunate because it kills the touchdown upside for Duke. But
right.
Red zone, though, like we've seen running backs that catch the ball really well be very productive in the red zone. Theo Riddick a couple of years ago.
Right.
So I think that anybody, if you're in a league where people are souring on Duke Johnson because of Carlos Hyde, I'm buying him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like his skill set is also something that tends to have more longevity, where like we've seen players that catch the football continue to be productive longer than the guys that are just based on pure running, because their body breaks down between the tackles over the years. But the guys like Duke Johnson that can catch the football, they can still be used out in space, and they don't have to take that whole workload. So
plus he's fresh from not having to do that for the past few years. He's pretty much been used as a receiver his entire career.
Yeah, and 2 years ago he was RB12 in PPR, and then just nothing last year with the addition of I guess Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb and all that. So I don't know. I think Duke is, if his price drops because of Hyde, I'm buying there. I think I'm selling Hyde if anybody's willing to buy, though. I don't know. What are you doing with these guys? Anything?
About the same. Yeah, I sell Hyde. I think I have him on the block in a league right now. I drafted him when he was over in Kansas City, like way before preseason. It was like the first draft I did. I drafted Hyde.
Yeah.
And now I was like, he got released from Kansas City. I was like, and then he signed with Houston. I was like, just get rid of him while there's at least some steam under him right now.
Yep. No, he's just kind of one of those guys that just hangs around. It's like you're never going to want to play him, but.
And you know what? He was pretty productive with San Francisco. He wasn't terrible.
No, but he wasn't productive with Cleveland.
Right. Well, I think those years in San Francisco beat him up, wore him down.
No, it's entirely possible. I don't think he's ever going to develop into anything. And even if Duke Johnson goes down and he's a starting running back, I don't know that he's going to be productive enough that you're going to want to play him. There just isn't a lot of upside there. He doesn't really catch the ball that well. So
no, they tried that.
Yeah, didn't work.
Nope.
Last bit we got going on here. lot
Beloved
going on over at the Patriots. You want to talk about some of that?
I hate him.
Yep, me too.
And Keel Harry. All right. It's
Yep.
not in Keel. What is it?
I don't know. I think it's in Kill Harry.
All right, it's in Keel Harry.
We'll go there.
Figured I got it wrong. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
figured as much.
No, you're good.
He went on IR, so
Yep.
he's out the first 8 weeks. Phil Dorsett starting. The depth chart shows just him and Edelman. It's not going to happen. They're going to start a third receiver.
Edelman's going to be playing in the slot, but
Yeah.
Patriots official chart doesn't even have slot wide receiver listed.
Right. So my guess is Josh Gordon and Dorsett on the outside, Edelman in the slot.
Are they really going to take Josh Gordon off the field in 2 wide receiver sets to play Dorsett? There's no way.
What's the point?
I don't know.
There is none.
I don't think Dorsett is good.
Is it one of those? Well, he's been here,
Yeah,
so we're gonna play him.
They had the whole thing about Josh Gordon having to earn his spot on the roster and all that stuff. It's like Josh Gordon, he's gonna earn his spot on the roster. He's gonna
Right.
earn his spot in the starting lineup.
He just needs to stop smoking weed.
Yep, that's all he's got to do. Or just legalize it. Just do it already. It's just stupid.
You know what? That's probably the better idea.
Yeah.
You'll get the best out of him.
Yep. It's just let Josh Gordon smoke. Let him smoke at the game. I don't care. Just like don't take him off the field. The NFL is better when Josh Gordon is in it.
Yes, 100%.
So we got that. We got Gronk saying it would take him 1 month to get back into playing shape and be ready to go. Are you rostering him anywhere?
I have in 3 leagues because I always wait so long to pick my tight ends. Because if I'm not getting
How long are you waiting to take your tight end that you're drafting with weird players?
One of them was so late. I was getting ready. I was going to go Chris Herndon and then Jordan Reed and try to get Jordan Reed for 4 weeks before he got injured. And then he got injured.
Yeah, he's out already.
So then I'm stuck with Herndon with suspension. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to go. I think I went and grabbed CJ Uzomah or Tyler Eifert to try to go first few weeks. And then, so I'm like, dude, you know what? If I'm just going to take a flyer, I'm so crappy at tight end. If Gronk comes back, he's Gronk. He's going to play.
See, and for me, like, if he plays for half a season, then he's just going to retire afterward anyway, right?
Right, but I'm not rostering anybody worth taking into next season anyway, outside of Herndon. So why not? It's a 100% this year buy.
Fair enough. So that's like the only situation where I see rostering Gronk as viable because I guess like maybe a championship run if he like shows up late and if you can afford a back end bench spot. But I just think there's better darts to throw. Like throw them at running backs that are handcuffs to other people and stuff. I don't know. I also tend to take tight ends a little earlier than most just because it is such a tough market that I want one of those elite tight ends. And if you miss out on that, you're just basically getting worthless production.
Where I'm at.
Do you have Ian Thomas anywhere?
I don't. And he's still available in a lot of leagues.
Yes, so that's one that I love. Like I love Ian Thomas as a buy.
Right.
And he's not very expensive right now, but he's one to look at in a league like that where you just have nobody. Like I think you can get production out of Ian Thomas this year. So then we got Demaryius Thomas getting cut and Demaryius Thomas then re-signing
for more money.
And he is mixed into that depth chart at wide receiver too. What do you think?
I think he's just gonna he's behind Gordon. He's gonna be behind all 3 of those guys. I don't really see Thomas making too much of an impact this year.
I don't really see him making much of an impact on the Patriots at all. And
no.
So like end of this year comes around, he gets cut, he goes to a new team, or he doesn't sign, goes to a new team, and then like I think this is kind of end of the road.
I was gonna say I think this is his like last hurrah. He's gonna play with the Patriots, hopefully get his championship. Who knows? They'll probably get another one.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then he'll just say,
"Peace.
See you later. I'm good."
So I think if you have Demaryius Thomas and you can get anything for him, sell him. Now that he's rostered by the Patriots, you might be able to get something for him.
Just hype the crap out of Harry going on IR.
What?
said hype the crap out of Harry going on IR.
Yeah, for me, like, there's no value there whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then I think this might be a good time to buy Jacoby Myers because with him listed so far back on the depth chart, there, like, in the future, I think there are paths to playing time. I don't think you have to pay much for Myers at this point. Like, that ship has sailed.
Right.
So I think that realistically, like, Thomas is gone next year. Gronk, if he comes back, is gone. Josh Gordon maybe sticks around. Maybe he gets suspended again. Don't really know. And then all you really have there is Edelman and N'Keal Harry, and like there's just a path to playing
Edelman's
time.
what, 32?
Yeah. So we don't know how long Edelman's going to play, although he's still very productive. So no signs of slowing down yet. But yeah, I think Myers is a nice buy right now, just because like he'll cost you nothing, and if you can afford to just stash somebody, that's somebody to stash.
Yeah, I agree.
Got anything else to say about the Patriots?
Go to hell.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
So, all
and
right.
I'm from Connecticut, so.
Yeah, it's brutal. I'm so tired of seeing them win.
Agreed.
All right. Well, this has been the F3 podcast. You can find our written content at dynastyfootballdigest.com or at idpguys.org. You can find video content such as these podcasts at Writer Digest Network on YouTube. Writer is spelled REITER. You can follow me at Laney1925 on Twitter, and you can follow Joey at Joey the Tooth IDP on Twitter. If you go to the websites for $1 a month subscription, you get tools, rankings, offensive ADP, defensive ADP. I think it's the only place you can find combined offensive and defensive ADP. We have a trade calculator, start sit shows coming. And you also get access to the Slack chat, where basically all of our writers, podcasters, everybody in the whole network is available and at your disposal to basically answer any of your questions.
And there's always somebody there.
Always. Usually Joey. So. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. Have a good one. Later.